Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the August Elizabethton City Schools Board of Education meeting. Dr. May is not with us, but if the board is agreeable, he is joining us by phone. By policy, he is not going to be voting, but he did want to participate with us. So if everyone's okay that Dr. May is sort of here, is everybody okay with that? Yes?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Okay, Grover, you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
So we will enjoy the dulcet tones of Out of Body of Dr. May. If everyone would please stand, and Dr. Gardner is going to lead us in Pledge the Flag and a moment of silence.
Let's have our moment of silence. Thank you. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What's he doing, waiting on the baby? You know he's out of town. Yeah. All right, we have several people joining us tonight. I'm going to start off by recognizing Lee Hunt and the fine folks from East River Park Church. So, Corey? Nope, come on. You all are not that lucky. You're dressed alike. You got to come up.
Okay, I'd like to say thank you to East River Park for everything that they've been doing for our community, number one, and also specifically for the school system. A lot of people do not know how much time, effort, and energy they've put in to make sure that, number one, when our teachers get back, they're recognized and loved when they start their jobs for the year. So in the last couple of years, they have provided a meal and helped us work on, making sure that, when teachers come back, that they feel supported. They feel that there's people in the community that are there who love them as just as much as the children. So that was really important. So we appreciate that. The other thing is they have been the spearhead. Back when Lee and I and Derek were at Pizza Inn one day, came up with the idea to start the Back to School Bash together. That was going to be something that we did for students so they had an equal playing field when they came to school. The church has raised more than $15,000, maybe closer to 20. For us, they by far have been the title sponsor for us in doing that for our students. It's anything from haircuts to appointments for immunizations to everything that we've seen, but they've been a title sponsor every year since the very beginning. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate Lee and his vision for what the community can be and what their motto is, live to serve, really means. And so we appreciate East River Park and Lee leading the charge on Back to School Bash. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to ask McKenna Kaiser if she would come up. And McKenna, tell us a little bit about your experience at the XQ Symposium when we drug her all the way to San Francisco.
Okay, so thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. So I'm McKenna Kaiser. I'm a senior member at Elizabethton High School and in the Bartleby program. So I could tell you about either my iPhone X that I got at the trip, or the interesting food that we ate, or the special friendship I made with Felicia, who was my chaperone. But there was something more interesting that happened at the symposium, and it's that we learned how to advance equity through innovation. So by doing this, we are learning how to collectively power through, and we took 137 educators, 18 super schools, and 10 students, and we learned how to fix our education system. So right now it's not working. Test scores are showing that, and students are showing that. Students are not happy, and we're not providing the lifelong learning that we need to do. So collectively, we're trying to fix this. So whether that be through, praising the students that are going from a 15 to a 45, and we're saying, well, 45 still isn't good enough. We need to start praising them instead of our 4.0 students. So Biz Stone was there, who's the founder of Twitter. And basically he said that he dedicated his success to his teachers. And they allowed him to be a little bit rowdy, not so cookie cutter. And I feel like this is where we're going to. It's a relationship now between educators and the students. And it's that bond that's going to make lifelong learning happen. So with this, we came back, and it was actually the night that we left the airport. Hannah Roten and I, we texted our group chat, and we were like, Dr. G, when are we going to have our sit-down meeting? We have so many ideas, and everybody was so tired because we had so many delays from the flights. But so we came back, and we've already seen improvements, like with the sleeveless tops, and students have been so excited and almost kind of pestering me because now they're coming up to me asking me to do all these things. I'm like, one step at a time. But so with these sleeveless tops and all these things that we are permitting, students are a lot more happier, and they're learning how to enjoy education and actually want to attend and learn. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
McKenna.
Thank you, McKenna.
I will say there was one, I guess it was one afternoon, and Russell Ali and Lorene How Jobs were on the stage, and they're talking to everybody, and then a little bit later on that afternoon, we were back at another, someplace else. It's all a blur at this point. But they were looking out there, and they said, "Where are our Bartleby girls?" And so when those two ladies know you by sight, that's pretty impressive. And because they really valued your input, McKenna would just jump up and ask questions and never hesitated, and so that was quite an event, and it changes you, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, thank you, McKenna. We'd like to have Carla Wiles come up and talk to us about the Betsy book bus.
I'd like colleagues to join me as well. Debbie Markman and Brandy Natus. It was all a team effort. Shoot, let me tell you. We would like to thank everyone for the opportunity to just allow us to have the book bus. We had a wonderful time. Becca put together a slideshow of just some of the short highlights, so we'll show that and move on. I won't read through all the highlights. I know it's small print, but we'll hit some of those highlights as the pictures come up on the slides. I think the one thing we do want to point out is we passed out 2,500 books in a matter of 4 weeks. So all those books got into the hands of over 500 children in our community. And those books, even just as impressive, were all donated by people in our community to pass out within our community. So it's definitely a community effort to get this going. This was the finished product. So the back of the bus, the Betsy book bus, it's very impressive how it turned out. We were so excited. Started out like this with the decommissioned bus late last spring. These are examples of some of the books that were donated. Some were in fabulous shape. Out of those 15,000, we were able to keep very, very many. There were some that have been a little too loved, and we had to pass those on and not go any further. But TCAT took all the seats out, stripped everything inside, spent a lot of time, probably more time than they had counted on to spend to get the bus looking great. So this was some of the initial progress. 2 different teams on TCAT worked. We had people more in the automotive and the welding, and also the woodworking. So these are the shelves as they were progressing, and we thought they were finished, and we thought they looked wonderful. And then Tim from TCAT came in and he said, "Oh gosh, bring the bus back when you get finished with it this summer, because I really want to take the sand belt to this and make it look even better." So perfectionists over there. So we're very appreciative of all the work that they put in. There we are loading all the books, and this was our back-to-school bash. Final product on the outside, marquee signs, was who covered the bus. Generator was donated, so we do have air conditioning, so if anybody wants to join us, you will not melt. It's comfortable on there. And we're in the process of thinking about some rubber flooring. We're working with Big John's on that to try to finish it out a little better on the inside. So this is really what it's about, though. All the pictures are beautiful, but we had crowds of children waiting for us and working with us and reading with us and telling us what they liked throughout the weeks. Even middle school boys, which, as we all know, are not the ones that you can really coax into reading very much. And these were repeat offenders right here. They visited us more than once. We had Milligan students that volunteered their time all throughout the process through sorting and all the stops. So without them, it would have been much more difficult to do it. They were crucial in getting this going. Brandy likes to call this our little mascot. She actually asked if she could go and knock on the doors of all the neighbors to see if more people would want to come out on the bus. And we said, yeah, but you have to ask your family first, because some of these children, even her age, were coming out to the bus unsupervised. The families felt safe enough to let them come out, but we didn't feel safe enough to give her permission to keep going. So Academy Sports was one of our largest sponsors, and they also chose T.A. Duggar Middle School as their give back to the community school, where they sponsored 30 T.A. Duggar students and provided them with $100 gift certificates each to buy school supplies or activities they needed, clothing, things like that. And so this was on our field trip to Academy Sports. Many sponsors. Of course, we also want to thank Dr. Gardnauer, Dr. Newman, Becca Price, huge in getting this all going. I know I'm forgetting people, so I tried to write it down. Larry Adams was our bus driver, and fabulous. I mean, above and beyond. He would haul books for us and just show up at moment's notice. We hope to use it in the future for more community outreach, such as classrooms, maybe reserving the book bus to bring it into their school and let the kids come visit for a little mini field trip. Maybe outreach for Title I nights. Lots of possibilities. So we want to possibly add Wi-Fi in the years to come. Just keep adding technology to it, because we built some great relationships over the summer, and everybody has good stories about what was our favorite thing. And it seems like as we're talking, it all revolves around relationships. So I don't know if you guys want to share any anecdotes or I've talked.
I heard something interesting today. I was at a meeting this afternoon. Carter County schools gave their report on their back to school, or on their book bus, and they had surveyed families that they had served, and the second largest population that they served this summer was the city of Elizabethton kids. It shocked me. I couldn't believe it. And they, of course, they didn't get their bus on the road quite as quickly as we did. But yeah, they were just. Of course, I guess our outreach is. A lot of families are in Roan Mountain for the summer, and a lot of Elizabethton families. It was very interesting.
We kind of worked hand in hand with them. We noticed at the Boys and Girls Club. The Boys and Girls Club, the largest population served were county students. Just a small sliver were the city students. So it was nice, and there were former city students that we saw, that now are in the county, and so we were kind of thinking, well, there might be county students who will in the future be city students, and so to build the relationship between the two districts is really good.
That's great.
Yeah.
I just want to share a story. This happened, I guess, at the beginning of the school year. One of the children who came to the book bus every week is a former student of mine, and he would always get 2, 3 books. And I would ask him every week, did you read your books? Well, some he read, some he didn't. The first day of school, he was waiting on me at the door. And he was so excited, he had told me they were going to be moving. He missed a week because they were going to be moving. They're still in our system, but they just moved to another location, so he missed the bus. Anyway, he was so excited because he moved to a trailer, and he had his own bedroom. And he had a bookshelf in his bedroom. and he was going to put those books on his bookshelf. He hadn't read them all, but where we're giving them the books, he was going to have those books to keep to read.
And I just really wanted to reiterate what Carla was talking about, the community building that we experienced this summer. I was just amazed at the excitement of the students when they came to meet us at the bus. They were waiting on us. I teach math, so they were very excited to see their math teacher on the book bus. What? So they were excited to see that. And I just wanted to share with them that I think it's important as well as a math teacher. So I'm just very appreciative of the opportunity to serve and be a representative on the on the book bus, and to help build those relationships with the community. So it was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have our orange t-shirt.
Well, Tammy, you might as well stay because I'm getting ready to call you up. So next, we're asking Tammy Markland to report on her attendance at the Colonial Williamsburg Teacher Institute.
And thank you for having me. I'm excited. This was one of the best experiences I've had ever. I was honored to be selected. It was an application process that Dr. Gardner was involved in, writing a recommendation letter for me. We had to go through an application process, started in December. I was notified not long before school was out that I'd been selected. It was the 29th Teacher Institute that Colonial Williamsburg has had. During that week-long session, we focused on the daily life of colonial Virginians and the transition from subject to citizen that occurred during the Revolutionary War period. Throughout that whole week, we were immersed in hands-on activities at Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Yorktown that highlighted the stories of the people that were living during this time. We engaged in interdisciplinary approach to teaching social studies with American history as the focus. We were given the opportunity to exchange ideas with historians, meet character interpreters, and become part of the story in the historic area. Throughout each day, we worked collaboratively with the people of Colonial Williamsburg, the staff. We had a master teacher assigned to us to examine our interactive teaching techniques and help us develop instructional materials that we could use to bring history to life in our classrooms. We were immersed in hands-on activities that highlighted the stories of the people who lived and worked in 18th century Williamsburg. We were provided with lesson plans that promote literacy and historical analysis skills. We were provided with a variety of media that meets historic history and social studies standards, and we learned instructional strategies that engage multiple learning styles to inspire our students with the relevancy of American history to the present day. On the first day of the Institute, we were assigned an 18th century Williamsburg citizen. We were given biological information about their life and asked to engross ourselves in their life and experiences of this person throughout the week by discovering how they might have viewed key events of the time while deciding for ourselves about the role that they played in American history. On the last day of the Institute, we took on the persona of this citizen in a debate in the Hall of Burgess to decide if Virginians were to remain subjects of the British Crown or become citizens of a new nation. And we decided to stay part of British colonies. So we learned how to integrate primary sources and secondary sources and technological resources in classroom instruction that focused on the early American history and citizenship. We got to do a land survey at the Capitol building there in Colonial Williamsburg to explore how land was divided and how surveying techniques can help us teach math and science concepts in the classroom. We participated in a simulated dig to show our students what they can learn through discovery and archaeology. Time was spent with tradesmen in Williamsburg, learning how trade shops created and maintained connections within the community. In order to experience daily life of a soldier in the American Revolution, I got to stand on Surrender Field at Yorktown as a soldier in the Virginia Regiment. However, one of the most moving experiences that I got to partake in was at the Rockefeller Library. We were given access that nobody gets access to. You have to work in that building to be able to get in it, and we were taken in that building. We got to look at issues of the Virginia Gazette, surviving issues. The Virginia Gazette was printed up until 1780. I actually got to touch the first original printing of the Declaration of Independence that was printed in the Virginia Gazette on July 20th, 1776, which was just amazing. I took a picture and I said, well, can you turn it over? He said, no, you can do that. Just turn it. I'm like, so I was just, oh goodness, I was so excited. As a culminating activity, we created a project-based learning unit that we could implement in our classroom that synthesized our experience from the week on becoming Americans. Again, this institute was just the experience of a lifetime. I want to close by telling you about an 18th century Williamsburg resident that I learned about at the institute. Her name was Ann Wager. Have you ever met people who quietly, perhaps without realizing it, give others hope? They give others skills, vision, and permission to succeed. Ann Wager was this type of person. Every day for 14 years, she got up early and opened her door to a crowd of children whose society routinely told, you can't. Ann Wager told them, you can. She was a teacher.
Wow.
Was that the persona you took on for the week?
It actually was not. I was a shopkeeper.
You were a shopkeeper. Well, let me ask you, why did you guys decide to remain British?
We debated and we took sides depending on the character that you were.
Uh-huh.
And we were given information to analyze and just to decide. And it had a lot to do with slavery.
Oh.
Our decision was a lot based on slavery, the way slavery being treated at the time in Williamsburg.
Interesting.
The British got rid of it before we did.
Well, Tammy, that sounds like the opportunity of a lifetime. Thanks for sharing. All right. It's time for citizens to speak in accordance with Board Policy 1.404. No one asked to be put on the agenda, so we will move on. So it's time to approve the consent and regular agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Anybody have any
Could I-
questions or comments?
Sorry to interrupt. I'd like to move item 26, which apparently last meeting, which I was unable to attend, you voted on first reading of Board Policy 6.314, and I'd like to move that back to the regular agenda for the second reading, if I could, please.
Okay. So that's 26 in the consent agenda.
6.314 in
Yeah.
corporal punishment.
It is your attachment 22, and so it would become item 12. Anybody want to make a motion to move that?
So moved.
Make a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Item on the floor is to approve the consent and regular agenda, moving number 26 and making that item number 12 on the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. As everybody is aware, the comptroller's report was released today. Obviously, we did not have any idea when that would happen, so we were not able to add it to the agenda. I asked Dr. Gardenauer to contact Ms. Owens, and she said that if the board was agreeable, that we would add the discussion of recommendations from the comptroller's investigative report and have Dr. Gardenauer go over that with us. So if everybody's agreeable, we're just going to ask him if he will kind of go over the recommendations, kind of talk about where we are with that, and some things we've already kind of started, some other things we're going to be working on. So Dr. Gardenauer is going to address that in his report.
Okay. I want to point out several things to you kind of in reading of the report. First of all, you'll notice that there are deficiencies that are reported based on issues that we had and which were not a surprise to us from the investigation that we completed here in the school system. However, there were recommendations based on that we did take employment action on the issues that were listed here, and also are going to take note of the recommendations. Fortunately, we have had some months, I don't know how many months, it's been many months, to start working on the deficiencies we felt that we had in order to solve the issues that are before us. And so the first recommendation really focuses around ticket sales, concessions, and other mass collections and cash disbursements. And based in the body of the letter, it talks about different different issues we have with that, but then goes into what we should really do with those reconciliations, making sure they're correct, making sure that we calculate cash and ticket reconciliations prior to the deposit, and also making sure that we have an account of the concessions and signed by both responsible individuals before the collections are given to the cashier for deposit. At the end of May, one of the things that we did is Miss Wilson and I started brainstorming together to really start talking about some things that we needed to do in order for our employees to be trained, knowing that we had some of the issues that were there. We weren't sure what the comptroller would say in his report, but we did have issues from our investigation that we followed. When we looked at the principal and bookkeepers, we felt that that was an area that we needed to address immediately. And so we brought them in to start working with them. And what we did was our auditor, which is Kevin Peters through Blackburn Children's in Stegall, came and provided training for everyone on ticket reconciliation, which is a large part of the issues we had. Also, different things with basically wage and hour and employment issues that can result from not paying people appropriately through the school system. And so we took care of that. And then one of the things that I did following that as well was to restructure Ms. Wilson's job to be able to work more on audit. That's something that we had internal audits prior, but we felt that that was something that we needed to do to make sure that we had a keen look at what's going on prior to that. And that became very apparent in what had happened in one of the issues that's reported with the bookkeeper. So Ms. Wilson's working closely with bookkeepers, as she always has, but the audit part is actually getting out in schools, working with that. Even though we've done that in the past, we need to beef that up. And so that's one of the concessions we made based on that. We made a visit to Bristol City Schools. They're an entity that's about as big as we are. They have about the same type of staff that we do. And we visited their finance department to look at their auditing versus our auditing and what was going on there. And we wanted to make sure that we had a good program to follow moving forward. The auditors then went inside Elizabethton High School, specifically to the athletic department. And they did training and support for the people that were in there who were newly placed in the positions there. They also have come back and they worked with staff to try to look at the reconciliation sheets that we had for tickets to make sure they really matched what we were doing, and also make sure they're easy to understand and they could be repeated and reportable in the way that we needed it to be. That was also done by Blackburn Children's in Stegall. Beth, as we won't say, but she will be visiting this year, making sure that she's visiting maybe during some games to see how ticket reconciliation's going, how collections are going, and doing those types of things this year in order to make sure we have that. And we've put communications out to staff in the whole to talk about petty cash funds, how to take care of that if there are issues, and make sure that we're following those guidelines. So really, that's what we've started with. Keep in mind that this is the first day that we've been able to see the comptroller's report, and so we will be meeting again to talk about other ways that we could possibly take care of this recommendation that they've made. If you go to the second recommendation, this is a pretty simple one. We had an issue with an employee over the mail machine that we had at Elizabethton High School. And there were anomalies and issues with the postage and how it was handled there. And so simply, this is one where we can track what postage is going out for what and where. And also our auditors will be checking over this very closely to make sure we had good practices as far as records, as far as making sure that when money went on the machine, we're just making sure now that we have where everything is going and what we're using it for. The third recommendation that was made was specific, and I can go into a lot of detail here about school support organizations, but we had many that were in compliance. We had a few that were not. And the law's kind of interesting in the way that parent organizations, they work kind of on their own, but they are affiliated with the school or not. And so for many years, Ms. Wilson has been meeting with them, talking about their state paperwork, giving them training, doing it on an individual basis. But we still found that there were issues with compliance on that. And so a couple weeks ago, Ms. Wilson, she met with me and we talked a little bit about forms, and we talked about some training that we would need to have for school support organizations. And the reason we waited until now was the fact that officers change frequently. And so the new officers are now on, and we could do the training now that we have kind of the new staff that's coming in. So we're hoping to be able to get that on a yearly basis and make sure that we go through all the forms. Thanks to Becca and Beth for working on the manual, and Becca really worked to say we need to get it posted on the website where forms were there, and she's been working on that with Beth even today, making sure that documentation's out there for parents and it's easily accessible. They worked on the manual, and just to make sure that, you know, that the public would know that we have a lot of things that are going right. We have a lot of people who are doing right things. And I think just what happened Friday night with what happened with our football game and all the things, we were really looking closely at how that's one of our biggest tests, all the way from Jason and the police department, and that worked well, and what was going on with ticket reconciliation, and we've paid special attention to that going through what I consider to be the hardest game of the year. And so for us, so things really went well. I think our new practices that are in place now, I think will help us, and we appreciate the effort on everyone. I know it's been a long couple months for Beth working with me, trying to look at the different things as we were coming in and trying to it's kind of hard when you don't know what the report's going to be, you know, and what they're going to recommend. You kind of take a shot in the dark and say, all right, these are some sensible things that we can do to make things better. And so that's kind of the approach we've taken thus far, and we will continue in an ongoing process to take care of the issues that we have as they come and make sure that we have what I consider to be a viable and repeatable program. You want to finish my report?
Anybody have any questions or comments on that before he moves on?
I appreciate getting this report. I hate it's taken so long, but I'm glad to see it. I mean, should we address this in a called meeting, just go through the steps? I mean, you've given us great answers tonight. Like I said, I'd like to digest the report a little bit more myself, but it's very thorough. And I know the media will get a hold of it if they're not already, but I don't know if that's appropriate, or what we've heard tonight's appropriate.
I would recommend we have a call meeting after we all have a chance to really read it. I mean, I've skimmed it and I read over it, and it's very thorough, and it addresses all the issues from their state manual that are deficient, but I would really like to have a call meeting on it.
Dr. May, what's your thoughts?
Yes, I'd like to have a meeting as well. I would like to I am very thankful that we've had the response that we did from the state and from the school system. I think it's been very thorough.
I agree.
Phil?
I think that would be fine.
Okay. So, Dr. May, when you can, let us know some dates. We'll try to do this as quickly as possible. I don't want this sitting out there too long. So, if you can let us know after the meeting, maybe some possible dates, we'll get something on there. And the meeting, as for a called meeting, it'll be one issue, which we will be discussing the recommendations on the report, and that'll be all we'll talk about. And, but yeah, we can absolutely do that. Yes.
Do we need a 1 week notice for public notice?
Yes. But if you can, we need, well, is that clear? What do you think? Yes, that's the goal. So, yeah. So if you can just kind of give us some dates. Uh-huh. Yeah, we
I
want
will
to.
look at the weeks following that and send you some, I'll email you some.
Perfect. Thank you.
That
Thank
would be
you.
a week from today would be the start.
It would be as
of
soon
the-
as we
of-
could do it.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but yeah, that way we can discuss it and it gives everybody a chance to read it. I will say that Dr. Gardenauer, Mr. Trent, myself, yesterday, we met with the gentleman who did the report, and he did say that he was very appreciative that this was self-reported, and he said that Dr. Gardenauer did an excellent job of doing that in a very timely manner, and that we did not do anything to interfere or impede in the investigation. So those are things that helped. So I wanted to say thank you all for that.
Well, we appreciate your hard work on this, Beth, your hard work on this, and I'm sure many others have put a lot of time into this.
They have. It's been a lot, but in the end, we talked yesterday. The goal is we have to have a better school system in the end. We learn from the issues that are there, we handle the issues, and then we try to make our system better. And that's, I think, their goal and our goal.
Okay. To finish your report.
Sure. Just want to say a word about the Back to School Bash. Becca and Dr. Newman, thanks for everything. Thanks for board members who were able to show for that. It was truly, it's our biggest ever. It was a great day for families to be out and have opportunities to get started out on an equal playing field. And we appreciate so much the community and everyone that was a part of that. Thanks for our book bus, too, and all of you being willing to be there and be a part of that day, and all of our employee volunteers who showed. Just one thing about our Science Hill game, congratulations to them. That's, I think our last was 2009, so it was sure sweet getting an opportunity.
I'm still wearing orange and black, as I
Yeah.
have worn every day.
Everybody's sleeping with their lucky pair of socks. And
Whatever
so
you wore
for
Friday, you
Greenville.
have to wear it again. Just
Yeah.
not that I'm superstitious, but whatever you wore, wear it again.
I was expecting Jackson Holly to be doing cartwheels in the yard. He lives right down the street from me.
Yeah.
He did a really, really, really
He
good
played a
job.
They
Yeah.
all played a great game.
Yes, they did.
It was wonderful. And our paving project, Harold McCormick, is on schedule as soon as Summers Taylor can fit us in. And our old hospital property, we're working with Mr. Weems and Tom Patton, who's the engineer. He's working on that. We've increased the parcel size a little bit to where we had. We think we're going to be able to get an entire field in as opposed to a shortened field. And we've applied for an audit with TDEC, and we feel like they will give that to us based on our wonderful guys at the city and the water department, and they have worked with us and helped us in that process and making sure that, and writing a letter of support for us to basically move through the process quickly. The HS Commons area, we expect to be finished with that sometime close to after the fall break, and we're really excited what that's going to be. We've ordered a lot of technology and different things that really make that space usable. Mr. Van Huss has been working on our safety grant. We went for some training a little while ago, and then he came on and is spearheading that work, and I think we're just about ready to, he had a draft of the safety grant going in and just about ready to apply for that, and so we appreciate that, and we're hoping it'll be a quick 2-week turnaround. We are beginning safety walkthroughs for the year, both on facilities and just safety, period, to see if there are areas where we can improve, and then we'll try to work those. We're new into our budget, and we'll try to work those things in to make improvements there as we go. Another piece I think is super important is our InterQuest canines. That they are coming back this year, but they have more dogs, and they are going to be able to do it a lot faster, and they will be up here at least 10 times this year. And they, as you know, they search for guns, and they also search for all kinds of prescription and across-the-counter medications that we would not want to have our students have. So we appreciate them being a part of that. I would just want to thank our city council for voting 7-0. All of them voted for our projects at EHS, the old hospital property, and the roof here at central office. So we appreciate their efforts in making that happen. The initial installment from our anonymous donor is coming in. We actually have the papers today to be able to sign that, and so they're ready to go back to those. And so we're thankful that that has gone on. And we appreciate you all for all of your work and everything that you mean to our kids. Thank you.
Could I just ask a question? I had not quite a few, several parents call me about the list of supplies that's getting longer and longer every
Okay.
year, the beginning of the year. And I was wondering, it's too late now, but for the, to think about for the next year, that there would be some way that we could help them. The principals could maybe have a little bit more money to spend. I mean, they're being asked to bring hand sanitizer, Kleenexes, wipes, copy paper, and one mother said it was almost $200, and she's got 3 kids, which means $600. So I just thought that would be something we could think about maybe for next year. Give the principals a little more, and the custodians a little more money to buy some of these things to take the heat off the parents.
Okay. Thank you. We'll check into that.
And I just to add to that, I dealt with this many years. I think, if maybe next spring the principals could get, especially elementary principals, could come together and come up with maybe a consolidated list and trim the. I know in my past we had more stuff left at the end of the year where people, instead of getting 1 box of Clorox wipes, they'd bring, half a case. So just something to think about.
Okay. We'll check into that.
Elena?
Okay, so I'm in Mr. Hensley's Bartleby class at the high school, and last week I went to the Carter County Drug Prevention Office to talk with Jillian Reese about some project ideas that I could maybe establish to promote some of her goals within the community. But while we were meeting, she mentioned to me that we had been randomly selected to participate in a survey that would measure the prevalence of drug and alcohol use within our school system. And now I realize that to administer a school survey is probably not one of the most wonderful things in the world, but she told me multiple times the value that this would place in finding out what we need to help our students with, and it would also provide crucial data to the state in trying to just crush the prevalence of drug use within our area. And if y'all have any questions, I would be more than happy to contact her and get those answers back to you as soon as possible. But I brought you all an example of the survey and then the letter of support.
I just looked at this for the first time, assume this is anonymous.
Yes.
And it's
most
voluntary?
definitely. Yes.
Okay.
And students are free to stop the survey whenever they feel. If they're having trouble with a question or getting triggered, they're free to quit, and it's completely anonymous.
How will you distribute the survey?
Now, she said that she would be more than happy to come to the school and administer it herself whenever she would be allowed. You can do it online or pen and paper.
Okay. Looks good.
We do have a youth at-risk behavior survey that we currently have as a part. This is something that's
It
added
says
on.
anonymous right here.
I think maybe, I'll not advise the board, but what I would say is maybe we could work together with our coordinated school health.
She mentioned that to me.
Yeah, and see what we're giving already, and then bring it back this coming month. Maybe Ms. Wilder could kind of spearhead this and work with you on it. Okay,
Thank you, Melinda.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
we'll put it back as an agenda item.
Okay, cool. Before we get started on the meeting, a couple months ago, I asked the board members if they would take some time and fill out Dr. Gardenauer's evaluation, and I want to thank you all for doing that. I've distributed I went through, took everybody's reports and put them all on one, and so you have that. And Melena, I will give you mine. It was an excellent report. Dr. Gardenauer, job well done. There was a couple or several things that were kind of repeated over and over again by board members based off of there's different areas called board relationships, community relationships, staff and personnel relationships, educational leadership, business and finance, and strategic planning skills. Several things that were brought up over and over again. One of them was board members just were so appreciative that you have developed a great working relationship with each board member, and that allows us to become a better board. And so that's something I know we appreciate. You treat us all as individuals and work with all of us and all of our little interesting qualities. Tyler.
Some more than others,
Some more
right?
than others, exactly. It was noted that, again, your integrity and your ethics was brought up over and over again. It was talked about the fact that you always put the school system first. It was brought up that you are willing to go out, look outside the box for continued academic achievement. That has obviously been proven with working with XQ. The finances are very solid. You've also maintained and really developed excellent leadership or excellent relationship with our city council. And you've been a very steady, very proactive, but not reactive leader. Also, we've had very little teacher turnover, which I thought was great. We had 98% retention rate for our teachers, and that speaks volumes. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, I asked Dr. Gardenauer if he would just I was kind of making a list of the things that have been accomplished over the last 3.5 years, projects that either that he was kind of overseeing, that he ended up inheriting or collaborated on, and I call it the obnoxious list because it's kind of wild when you see it all on paper. I'm just going to touch on a few things. We've again talked about the back to school bash. We had a complete pool renovation at the high school, completion of Citizens Bank Stadium, completion of music room at EHS. You worked very closely to make the track a reality. We got the lease on the hospital property, Harold McCormick, the property there, the partnership with XQ. Bartleby is now a real thing. We had $2.5 million donation, which was the largest in school's history from an anonymous donor for Bartleby. We have a wrestling and cheer room at the high school. We implemented Read to Be Ready. We have a partnership with Milligan, telemedicine, naming of the Wandale Learning Center. We are getting SROs in the schools. We have the canine drugs that search for drugs and weapons. We have PR, a new website, social media. Basically, we have Becca. We have endowed scholarships. We have cafeteria upgrades. We're replacing band instruments, the book bus. Of course, we've got all the cool stuff happening at the high school with the makerspace and the commons area. Work here at the central office, and this was my favorite. Hired some of the best teachers around. So, Dr. Gardenauer, thank you very much. Thank you all for taking the time to do this. Yeah. And not too shabby of an evaluation. So.
Thank you. Thank you all.
He's been busy.
Good work.
Thank you.
Good work.
Busy man.
Yep. All right. How about let's get to a meeting? Okay. Not a whole lot, so here we go. I'm starting with the regular agenda. First item is approved purchase from Snap-on Industrial in the amount of $34,347.11 for precision measurement certification kit to be used by the EHS CTE department. Funds are generated from the Carl Perkins Reserve Grant. Snap-on Industrial is a state-approved sole source vendor. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Can
Just
I tell
wanna
you
say
my
we're-
favorite part is the fact that it's precision measurement and they came down to 11 cents. It's like very precise.
Wow, yeah.
But these kits will help us meet
Their names on it.
some requirements that we have for graduation, but also just awesome that we've been wanting to do this for several years, and the fact that we're able to do it, but it helps us along the way to get that. So we appreciate Mr. Colbert, who is on leave right now. We appreciate his work, and Mr. Van Huss worked on this been a little while ago, but last in the spring semester, trying to get that parted out and ready to go.
Can I ask what this is?
It will, Mr. Van Huss, you want to come on up? is a measurement kit.
Mr.
that will
Van
help
Huss,
us do
what's the
precise
weather
measurements.
outside tonight?
It's a little precipitous out there. Pardon my tardiness, but so part of the Ready Graduates, this is one way that we can meet the Ready Graduate requirement. They need an industry certification along with their CTE courses, and that's essentially what this kit is. It provides an industry certification that's recognized again by industry, and it all focuses on measurements. So things like auto mechanics, some of those careers where technical measurement's important, that's essentially what it will allow them to do. So
Okay.
it'll really boost our number of Ready graduates with their opportunity to complete this.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, item on the floor, approved purchase from Snap-on Industrial in the amount of $34,347.11 for precision measuring certification kit to be used by the EHS CTE department. These funds are generated from the Carl Perkins Reserve Grant. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item, approve contract between Elizabethton City Schools and Scribble Software for online records request solution for a charge of $4 per transaction convenience, fee beginning July 31st, 2018 through July 31st, 2022. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. And have a second?
Second.
Okay, we switched to an online transcript operation with Scriborder, which is what we currently have in place. And also Scribbles is going to allow us to transfer not only to NCAA colleges, those types of things, but we can do that online in a protected format to make sure that schools get them. The great thing is that many of the school systems in our area are also going to be using Scriborder. So when we're trying to transfer records back and forth between the two, it will be great. So we're starting at the high school because that's where we have the most requests for transcripts for jobs and everything else. But then we'll work down over time, depending on how much funds we have to be able to do it. But the great thing is, with the transient population that we have, eventually we'd love to have all those records scanned, and they're safe forever at that point. They can't be burnt or water line breaks, which we've had back here in the back room. We scanned records in special ed years ago, and 2 weeks after we removed all the records to be scanned, the water line busted and would have ruined all of them. So it's just a better all-around situation for us to go to something like this. So this is a new part of the software that we already are using, but it'll just give us the ability to send them electronically back and forth.
Do we have an employee that we dedicated to just this?
We have our registrar at the high school.
Okay.
Works with them in the counseling office.
Okay.
Basically, they're working back, and I can say it's been a rough go to start it out, just trying to get all of their software to talk. But they sat down with our person there and had a meeting with Mr. Boatman as well, and just talked. We've had meetings with them as well, just trying to get it worked. But after their meeting, he went back to his software people and said, we need to fix these things. And so it's getting better, and it will be completely better throughout the school year. So it eventually will help us tremendously. But we're working through the growing pains right now.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Adam.
Mr. Gardner, this is Dr. May.
Yeah.
In regards to the security, did they talk at all about the digital security?
Yeah, the digital security that they have is part of the contract we're looking at tonight. So they also carry liability policies on that, as well as ours, that's covered by Tennessee Risk Management. So they are responsible for that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So item on any other questions or comments?
What's the convenience fee?
A convenience fee is when someone comes and they apply for a transcript, they pay a fee. And that fee goes back to, some comes back to the high school, which we'll probably break even there, and make a little bit of money. Most of it goes to just make sure that we have back to the document scanning. that we've had to do, because it was somewhere around $25,000 for scanning the records, and then we'll have storage and hosting fee that we pay. So with all that and with Scribbles, Josh and I did the math with the representative, and we will at least break even. So.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Item on the floor, approved contract between Elizabethton City Schools and Scribble Software for online records request solution for a charge of $4 per transaction, convenience fee beginning July 31st, 2018 through July 31st, 2022. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item, approved purchase of networking equipment from Central Technologies Incorporation utilizing the State of Tennessee Master Contract, utilizing E-rate Priority 2 funding, 80% discount level, not to exceed $49,369.44. I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
These are upgrades to our technology and what we're doing. I'll let Mr. Trent talk a little bit about that if he has his, if you'd like to talk back there.
Yeah, this will allow us to upgrade every router, switch, wireless access point, some internal cabling throughout the school system. This will give us not only one-to-one capacity, but plus more. It'll be the technology we have in place right now is aging, and we probably push it to the limit, especially come testing time. But this, the one thing I have to say, the 80% discount funding that we're getting, thanks to Dr. Gardenauer, we were able to spearhead a survey that went out that we could verify our free reduced lunch numbers, and we were operating at a 60% level, and that alone, through the FCC and the E-rate program, our internet connectivity each year is discounted 60%. This year alone on our internet service, we'll save $85,000, and that doesn't count this right here. So all in all, we're looking at probably saving well over $100,000, and that's allowing us to do this and really put the technology out there that we can utilize, not only what we have now, but what's coming down the road.
And what we had by doing what we've done and our team working together on that, the $49,000 probably would have cost us somewhere around $250,000 to do. So think about that in terms of where we are and how much that's going to help the system. So great job to all. We have a lot of helpers on that, and getting the survey out, and principals are going to be working on that again this year to really help us. So anytime we can save that much money,
I
we love
like
it.
that.
We love it.
May I have any questions or comments? All right. Approved purchase of networking equipment from Central Technologies Incorporated, utilizing the State of Tennessee Master Contract, utilizing E-rate Priority 2 funding, 80% discount level. Cost not to exceed $49,369.44. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item was item 26, which approved second reading and adoption of Board Policy 6.314, corporal punishment as revised. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a second? I'll second it.
Sorry.
No.
Trying to find
You
it.
fell asleep on them. All right.
Okay. If you'll notice a change on this, specifically there was some debate at the state level over what needed to happen if we had students with disabilities who were to be administered corporal punishment. And even though there wasn't really a big change for us, number one, as we've said in the past, we really have not used it in a long time. But at the same time, I think the thoughts were that students with special needs not have it ever administered. However, they came back, and there was a compromise when it was on the floor of making that parents would have to give permission prior to it being allowed. And so, although there was some work, I guess, and move forward toward that, there was a compromise made, and it just really came back to that parental permission. But if you'll notice how we looked at that is that one of the conversations we had prior was over the fact that the principal would then notify if it was going to be used. And so, parents needed to be notified at that point. So we made that as a shall, and that was the discussion then. And so, long story short, that is the change to what we've had, and that's why it's being changed. And you can see some of the things that are there as a part of it. So.
Any questions or comments?
Yes, as I said, I wasn't able to be at the meeting, the last meeting when you did the first reading, and I was under the impression still that the state had passed this law. I was disappointed to see that they had capitulated. I know that we have talked about this for quite some time, and I just wanted to bring it up because I just wanted to reiterate that I don't think that the public schools should be in the business of administering physical punishment of children. I know that parents have the ability and the right to do that, but with all of the talk about anti-bullying and nonviolence with the children, though we haven't used it, I know administrations change. Some people have different opinions on this, and I would just like to see us not have this in our policy at all, which I've said before. Thank you.
Anybody else? Item on the floor is approved second reading and adoption of Board Policy 6.314, corporal punishment as revised. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Thank you. All right. Our next regular scheduled board meeting is Tuesday, September 18th, here, 6:30 in the Mac Pierce Boardroom. Couple of things. The TSBA regional meeting is September 24th, starts at 4:30. It's here in Carter County somewhere. Do we know which school yet? It just keeps saying Carter County Schools.
It doesn't say
at
where.
some point, but this should be one that everybody should try to go to. If you have not been to one in a while, you need to go. The meetings are always great. It's really nice if there's a lot of us that can be there. The dinner is always wonderful. The entertainment is always really good, and it's just great to spend time with other school boards. So please let Clara know if you can go, because we do have to pay. So if you say you're going, go, and let's try to be there and have 100%, because I can't remember the last time we had everybody there.
I assume they'll tell us where we're supposed to go
We
sooner
should
or
hope.
later.
Otherwise, we're just going to visit all the schools and see which one we get
Okay.
lucky on. So, also, Ms. Perkins has a form that we need to sign, so no one's allowed to leave the building until we have signed said form. Is that exactly what you told me?
Yes, well,
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, one last item if I could. I just want to show you the amount of trees that we're killing here. And just want to reiterate, if we could get on the TSBA situation where we're doing this online and we buy you a device, it would really save a lot of money. I mean, it's just something that we could do, and if we could get, I think that's agreeable. It was agreeable to everyone. However, at that time, we needed training, or to set up training from Randall Bennett to come up and do that. So if we could get some dates together that we could try to do it, and we'll throw out some dates and you can say yes or no. I really think that it would be good, and even if you have the preference, it would help us overall. So
That sounds great.
Dr. Gardner, I know we've got the police chief back here, but something in your report, I've heard more community comment on the appreciation of getting SROs in the schools. I mean, I've just heard that all over town, and that's congratulations to you all. And I think that's
we're working together. We're trying to. The big thing will be here in November. We're going to apply for that COPS grant. When will it be open, Jason? Do you think?
You know, historically, when we were looking, discussing this, and filling out the budget, this grant was a springtime, but it's incorporated in. It's held up by a lawsuit that's in California. So, you know, we really just waiting on lawsuit to finalize and get some guidance and some application released on that. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. They do.
Didn't the
fantastic.
governor just appropriate a whole bunch of money for school safety that you can apply for?
That's what we were talking about with Mr. Van Hussel on the grant.
Okay.
We're applying for that, but our goal was to take the balance of that money that we received and give it to our SRO program because we felt that that was a super important need in our community. And so they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you.
And we just got to make sure we've got some one-time monies coming in, but we've got to make sure that we have sustainable money that can support
It will give
support
us
the program.
Support the program for a couple years. You know, it helps us. So we're going to try to look at our one-time money and then just move forward with the grant so it can help
Find us
sustain
some more
it.
time money.
Huh?
Find us some more time money.
More time
Yeah,
money, right?
that's exactly right.
That's it.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody next week. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second. That sounded like it. Y'all have a good evening.